tarot cards are often the first step and basis for a seeker of metaphysical knowledge, like you, to discover your forever path. That could be astrology, numerology, healing arts, or any other spiritual interest you discover along the way. Elaine Ireland is not only a teacher of tarot, she is a mentor who supports you and will be there for you. Visit www.ElaineIrelandTarotMaster.com now and discover how Elaine's mentoring, tarot card and psychic readings, tarot card classes, and more help you to grow into the true being you are meant to be. Welcome to Conversations with the Ancients, where you're about to discover a whole different world than the one that, up until now, you've believed you're familiar with. World-renowned metaphysicist, practicing psychic, and tarot teacher Elaine Ireland invites you on a journey where you'll hear voices from the past, interviews with some of the greatest metaphysicians you've never heard of, because in their time, they needed to move with stealth. You'll also meet today's spirit mediums, healers, and others who will show you a side of the paranormal you've never seen before. Be sure you visit our website at conversationswiththeancients.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, hear the words of metaphysicians who blazed the trail. You're not in jail, thanks to them.
And this is Donna Leach. Welcome to the podcast. You're my first dream person. I'm so excited about this for several reasons. Number one, I've known you for a long time, so I've gotten to watch you grow, although we lost touch with each other for a while. But and I have to admit that dreams were not. I was not surprised when you chose dreams as a specialty because of your intuitiveness, your natural intuitiveness. It didn't surprise me at all. There are not many of you around as dream interpreters. Is that the right word, interpreter?
Yes, you can say that, but I have to put out there that nobody can interpret anyone's dream but the dreamer. Now you can have help interpreting it if you like. I can go through and I'm going to hold classes and I can do individual sessions and I can help them interpret it. But nobody's lived their life but them. And your dreams come from the subconscious of your life. And it deals with issues you're having in the current state. It also past issues. They can help with relationships, careers, anything that you had in your past that you didn't get cleared up, you can get cleared up through your dreams, and you need to interpret it. I didn't know this until I started taking the classes, but the funny thing about it, when I was taking that class from the Atlantic University, all my dreams were prophetic dreams.
What's the difference between a prophetic dream and other dreams?
That precognitive and prophetic are the same things. That means I dream of something that's going to be happening in the future, and all my dreams were that way. I dreamed of the snakes. Well, I knew what the snakes meant to me, so I was able to interpret that dream. I've had many, many dreams. I can get up, when I get up in the morning, I can say, okay, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. I can call my daughter and say, you need to be careful. I know that when I've had a dream, if it's about me, it's like, okay, I need to go a different direction. And if you don't have a prophetic dream and you get images and you get symbols, you can do the same thing, but you have to know what the symbols mean, and you have to know what different images are to you. And it's not hard. It's not hard at all. It's just knowing yourself. And I've been doing these dreams most all my life. My aunts, they had dreams, and I would sit and listen to them. And not only were the dreams that I had premonitions along with dreams. And it's visions and dreams. I've had visions. The dreams seem to be really, I have loved ones coming to me in dreams. I had a dream about a relative. He's alive. He was still living. He's here now. In the dream, he came to me. and I felt like there was something wrong. But, you can't always go tell somebody because you don't know how they're going to react to it.
True.
And about 2 weeks later, he lost a lot of money through a bad transaction. And so I knew that that's what that dream was about. I also know that when you dream, you keep your dreams close to you and you don't tell people about your dreams that you don't know. I went to church one Sunday and one of my girlfriends was with me, and she and I was talking about a dream I had. Well, the lady in front of me was listening to our conversation, and she abruptly got up and turned to me and said, "That's of the devil."
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
And it wasn't of the devil. And then here about a year and a half ago, I'm living in a senior apartments, and the manager came in because I had her to come in. I was asking her something, and I had my dream work out, and she saw it, and she said, "Oh, Miss Donna, God doesn't want you doing that." And I looked at her and I said, "What?" She said, "Your dream work. God doesn't want you doing that." And I was like, oh, it kind of makes you go in when you hear that. When people
Sure.
cut you down, So about 6 months ago, she came to, I was out in the hall and she said, "Oh, Miss Donna, I have to tell you something." And I said, "What?" "Well, we've had some medical issues in our family that's been pretty serious. And so it's been kind of stressful about that." She said, "I had a dream about you last night, and you need to calm down and not get so upset." She said, "It was in my dream." And I just walked. I said, "Oh, that's nice. Thank you." And I walked away and I thought, what's the difference between her dreaming and my dreaming?
And your interpreting of dreams.
Right. I mean, I can help people interpret their dreams, and it's something everybody should do. God comes to you in your dreams, and it's just there. And like I said, be careful who you tell your dreams to. And the Native American Indians, they were real careful because they felt like if they talked about their dreams, that they would lose their power. And that's kind of what happened to me when that lady at church said that it was of the devil. I mean, I just stepped back for a good while because I was like, I don't want anybody judging me. And then I decided, hey, God gave me this gift.
Why do you think that she said God doesn't want you to understand dreams, basically, is what she was saying? I think. Maybe not.
No, she was there. It was one of those real quacky churches. You know what I'm talking about, Elaine.
Some people think that dreams really are, we're not supposed to know them. So
Right.
if we're not supposed to know what's going to happen, because some people automatically associate a dream with being prophetic, automatically,
Mhm.
or telling you a secret you shouldn't know about something or somebody. And if that's true, then you shouldn't know it because it's not yours. They
Right.
forget that we get information, but so many people think that we're not supposed to know. So the devil must be playing with you.
Mhm. Right.
I
Right.
can see why she would say that. I kind of grew up with that,
Yeah,
but
I
not
did too. I
in
did.
but except our family was very open-minded, but I knew that concept was out there at a very early age about dreams. And dreams were talked about in our house all the time. But I agree with you when it comes to we only know what our symbols mean.
Mhm.
But what do you think about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of symbols that culturally meant? If you dream about a wolf, if you dream about an elm tree, if you dream about fixing dinner, if you fixing, boy, you can tell I'm Southern. If you dream about X, then this means this. If you dream on a Sunday about something, then you're going to meet somebody within 7 days that's going to be your partner. I heard those things the whole time I was growing up.
Well,
Birds, all the animals meant one particular thing. That's it. A wolf meant, a fox meant, a red bird meant. That's it.
I'll give you an example of that, and you're right. When I was in class, we were talking, and I had made the statement that snakes mean deception and danger to me. That's what they mean. And I've heard that all my life from my aunts and everything. And one of the ladies spoke up and she said, "Oh, my grandmother is from the South, and that's just an old wives' tale." She said, snakes mean renewal of life and health, good health. And I thought, I don't know if she knows what she's talking about, because I was like, she was about the snakes. Well, Elaine, I swear to God, this happened to me. About 3 months later, I dreamed that I had gone to work. When I opened the door to go to my desk, there was a big snake wrapped around my computer. And I swear to God, this happened. There was the snake was green, white, and had some pink in it. And colors are very powerful. We know that.
Yes.
And I looked at that snake, and just like he was so peaceful. He was so peaceful. And it was just like he almost smiled at me. And I woke up and I thought, that was her snake. That was hers. And I understand how she felt that way. And it was very powerful to me. I mean, to have that dream and then and know that that was her snake.
Public, I have to stop Donna for a minute. Are you picking up how much psychic energy she also is putting into her dream interpretation? You using words like, I knew that was hers. I understood that was hers. And you also told the public that colors are powerful. So when you're studying dreams, or I bring color therapy into just about everything I teach.
Right.
I used to when I was teaching a lot. But we have to understand colors change with cultures. I can't remember all the cultures right now, but one of them is you get married in red, not white.
Mm-hmm.
You bury in white, not black.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are Asian. I think both of those are Asian. And because colors have different meanings.
Right.
And color, red,
it's power.
It's power and passion.
Uh-huh.
And in the tarot cards, it's you have red, it means let's go. Let's get up and go. Let's do something. Activity. Da, 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 da. Well, when you have that kind of activity, it's usually because you have a passion for what you're getting ready to do. So it kind of stays that way. But you just taught the public casually that colors all mean something.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Now,
go ahead.
Go ahead. No. This is you be the star. You go.
I know. I'm going to give you for instance, I was in Georgetown one day, and I looked back over to the north, and this is not a dream. This is something that happened. And then in my dreams, I've had these colors, and I looked back, and in my mind's eye, Elaine, it was this horrible black cloud, and I just felt the anxiety, and I just felt so sad. Are we on the mic?
Yes.
Okay. And
you're being recorded, sweetheart.
I should
have told you this sooner. If you want to be recorded on your end, you can request, and I'll push the button.
Okay. And so when I did that, I saw the black, and sure enough, about a week later, there was all kinds of problems. And then when I was going through, getting ready to go through a divorce, I saw these huge dark black clouds. And I knew, and I was going up a hill, and this has been 40 years ago. And I knew when I saw that hill, and I was in the car, and I was going up, and there was this cloud, and it was following me all the way up, and it was black as it could be. And so colors mean something, but you have to really pay attention to what's going on around you also. And that way you can tell what it means for you.
For you. I think thank you for saying that. For you. Because the basics are the same.
Yeah.
Colors, and I think except colors are the same in your culture. So that's what you honor, basically.
Right.
Like I was just saying, you get married in red in one country, you get married in white in another, so on and so forth. But consider an insult to wear black to some things or white to some things. So we have to honor that in the custom where we are.
Right.
So if a Chinese person were to come here, our meanings would be the different, but they have to go by what their culture was to follow up on the dreams. It's the same thing with objects.
Mm-hmm.
Objects. I used to dream about buttons all the time as a kid. Well, what do buttons do? They keep things closed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or opened, or they're a way of entry.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was usually it was a button laying on a table, not in clothing. A button would just show up. I could be dreaming about something, two people talking, and there'd be a button in it someplace.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't mention that to my mother for years. I'd tell her the dreams, but for some reason, I never mentioned the buttons. Until I was an adult and I got to thinking, I haven't seen buttons in a long time. wonder why I haven't seen a button. Did I open up everything that needed to be opened up? Did I close everything that needed to be closed? I guess I'll never know because I don't know. I don't remember when it stopped other than it was before I got married. So that was early in my young days.
Yeah.
Younger days. Yeah.
Yeah.
But buttons, I have some very old dream books that my mom had. A snake was not only what you said that was in there, but it was also a phallic symbol.
Oh, really?
And if a young girl dreamed about a snake, it usually meant she was going to meet a beau, especially if she was a virgin. She was going to meet somebody that she was going to probably marry. Okay. And I okay. Why just dream about the guy? Why? Anyway, but certain things mean certain things, and culturally it does not change.
Well, it was a metaphor.
Yeah, except like you said, the person knows you knew what snakes meant to you.
Right.
Snakes were always scary to me. And I have to admit, what do you think about people who can change an image in dream form? Let's say for me, I'm afraid of snakes and I'm supposed to dream of a snake, but then all of a sudden it's a giraffe's neck. Because can I stop it from being the intentional imagery?
I wouldn't think. I don't know. I've never heard of anybody doing that because I know that it comes, like I said, it all comes from the subconscious. And if you think that the snake is what you would think it would be, and it ends up being the giraffe, what would it mean that it's not harmful to you?
I know. That's what I was wondering.
Because you wouldn't see it coming at you with this, fangs and everything, or just seeing it. It wouldn't scare you like it would. Yeah.
I wonder if our mind is strong enough to make that happen so that you really don't get the full meaning of the dream, but you may get the message.
I think you can get the message. I think you can get the message. As long as you get the message, you'll know what the dream means.
Okay.
And
where was it? I'm sorry, where did you take your class? I wanted to make a note of that.
Atlantic University.
Atlantic University. Is that Atlantic a position or is that a metaphysical association?
Metaphysical. Edgar Cayce.
There you go. Thank you. Edgar Cayce. Good old Edgar Cayce.
Yeah.
For folks out there that don't know Edgar Cayce, and there may be hundreds and thousands of you that don't, he was considered the sleeping or the dream prophet. And his university is world known. It's still maintained, I think, by his family, right? His sons.
It is. His granddaughter. Yeah.
Edgar Casey. Yeah.
Cayce.
Say that again.
Cayce.
Why do I try to misspell that? I always try to misspell it. A phenomenal man.
He really was. He was. And my professor was wonderful. And I was really kind of, we would all have to, tell about our dreams that we had and everything. And like I said, I got to where I was kind of embarrassed because mine were always precognitive dreams and I knew what was going to happen. And one of the funny things that happened was it was during the pandemic and this actually happened. So I had gone to H-E-B and I was going to buy some chicken thighs and they were out of them. And I got back in the car and I thought, I need a deep freeze. And so I went home and I kept thinking, I need to buy a deep freeze. That night, I dreamed that I had gone to buy a deep freeze and they were out of them. And I got up the next morning. I get up like at 4:30 every morning. I got up and I was like, man, I'm going to go to Home Depot. And I went over to Home Depot and I was there at 7 o'clock in the morning. I went in and I said, I want to buy a deep freeze. And the man says, I don't know if we have any. We sell out of them. I'll have to check and see if they got one in the back. He said, we can't keep them. I bought the only one they had left.
At 7 o'clock in the morning.
I mean, so I come home with my deep freeze. I mean, it's silly. It sounds silly, but it's really not. It was a dream that told me to go get it.
So Spirit helped you do that, gave you the information you needed, and you followed it. So that's prophetic. Yeah. I was about to ask you, can we ask questions for ourselves or show concern for ourselves, our loved ones, family, friends?
Yes. You can.
And then dream about an answer for them.
You can. And you set an intention. You may not get it the first night, but keep setting an intent that you want to know, and it'll come to you. Also, you can get a voice activator recorder and put it by your bed, and you can turn it on, and in the night when you start to dream, you'll start talking, and it's your voice is different in your dream world. Now, I haven't done that, but my professor swore up and down that happens. She says you will not dream in the same voice that you talk.
Do you think that's one of the guides coming through? One of our guides?
Yeah, I do. And it's so, I can't emphasize enough how strong these dreams are and how they help. And it's fun. It's fun too to figure them out. It's like, oh, well, yeah.
Filling out a mystery.
Yeah. And you can go back and you can, if you have a dream that you dreamed 6 months, a year, 2 years ago, or whatever, and you remember that dream, you can still interpret that dream.
I think, especially if it has not happened. Or my favorite dream from a friend of mine years and years and years ago, and I may have shared this with you in one of our conversations. I don't remember. She was a friend, but we also were going to the same church, so she would catch me up on it. Because it started with her standing on a porch in the country somewhere, really pretty area.
Mm-hmm.
We're not mountainous around here. She never lived in a mountainous place at all, hills at the best, but she knew it was mountains. And then over time, the trees started disappearing where it became a flatter surface. And way off in the horizon, she would see dust, and it kept getting closer and closer and closer with each dream. Sure enough, it was a vehicle that was kicking up dirt. And it got closer and closer and closer, and she could see that it was a green sports car. Small, a brand that she didn't recognize. So she automatically thought foreign sports car. Then she could see the man that was driving it, see what he had on, see that there was a scarf wrapped around his neck. And she said, oh, I must have been influenced by Hollywood movies. She kind of dismissed it. Finally, it pulled up to the porch, and this guy, very gentlemanly, has boots on and looks like he's been on a riding exhibit. And he takes his hat off, keeps his gloves on, and he walks up to the porch and he takes her hand and he said, I finally found you. Never had a dream after that. We're at church. She'd been telling me and another girlfriend about this. And she said, I haven't had any more dreams about him for a long time. And da-da-da-da. The other friend came running into the back part after services where we would stand around talking. And she said, you are not going to believe what's parked in the parking lot. And she pulled our friend to look at it, and it was the sports car. And she said, who drove it here? She said, there's only one man in here with a set of boots on with his pants pushed in. English, had been in the States about 2 weeks. This was a Unity church. He was there to give a lecture, and he walked right straight up to Pam. And he said, you are not going to believe the dreams I've been having about you.
See, yeah.
And yes, they got married.
I believe it.
About a year. He stayed here for about 4 months. He was only supposed to be here for 3 weeks. Got an extension on his visa. And then she went to England to meet his family. And they got married in England and got married here. And what he had been dreaming about her was they were at a dance. She was dressed, fancy dressed. I'll explain that in a minute. But she never moved. He would always walk in this room and there she would be. And they'd look at each other, but they never talked. He was acknowledging her. The day they met, she had on a thigh. Is that the lower part of your body? Yeah, the thigh between the ankle and the knee. Party dressed because she was going to a wedding that night or later that afternoon. And she really would not have had time to go home and change. So she was all dressed up in exactly what he had seen, except in his dream, she was wearing white gloves, but she wasn't that day. Yeah. And she had a little bolero kind of thing to put on over her dress to go to the wedding with little heels on. And she invited him to go to the wedding, and he did. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's prophetic.
Yeah.
That is big time prophetic.
Yeah, it is. And I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They never left each other's side after that. They were, and she was not one to go home with a man on the first night she met him, but he went home with her. He hadn't even gone to check into his hotel. He literally had gotten, and what was funny about the car was not his. He rented that car because it was like the one he had at home. If he hadn't rented that car, unless he just came in and saw her, which I think he would have.
Yeah.
But but that was so real.
It's amazing. It's amazing, isn't it? How that works. And God, you can't tell me God's got a hand in all that. I mean, he gives us all these messages.
I
And
believe it too.
yeah, and people are walking around every day and they're like, I had this weird dream. Don't know what that was about. And I understand why they do that. I mean, they don't understand how important dreams are.
I
And
wish I could remember mine. When I was a kid, I remembered every single detail.
well,
I'm lucky now to even remember that I said to myself while I was asleep, gosh, I hope I remember that. And I'll wake up going, what am I supposed to be remembering? Almost every day,
you
every now and then.
if you wake up and it's like, I get up and go to the bathroom and you think, oh, I want to remember that dream, you can have a recall. You can go back and get in bed and get in that same position you were in when you were dreaming and lay there a while and see if the dream will come back.
I can remember doing that, but it's not always.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Do you think that sometimes we don't remember our dreams because we're not ready to face them?
I think so. I think so. But they say that all of our dreams come to us in for good health. I don't know. I think they do. I think they, like I said, they clear up everything bad. And if you have a nightmare, it's something you better pay attention to. There's something in your life that you better take care of. And if you have reoccurring dreams, it's also something that you need to look at in your life and see what's going on. And it may not be a prophetic dream. It may be just symbols or something. And everybody should make their own symbol dictionary.
Oh, say that again and tell us how.
Well, just start writing down in a notebook, what does it mean when you see a dark cloud? What does it mean to you? What does snakes mean to you? What does balloons mean to you? When I see a balloon, it's usually something happy,
Yeah, I would think that too.
Yeah. And so just write down, just start writing them down and see.
Write down what things mean to you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, I agree with you totally. If you have what we call a nightmare, that's something we need to, or something that scares us. Spirit's trying to get it. But I talked to somebody a long time ago, another psychic, that when we were talking about dreams versus imagery that we get. Anyway, and she said, you can start out, spirits can be really nice to us and give us a nice nudge. And we dream about a pink bunny. And we think, oh, how sweet. Okay, we remembered the pink bunny. Then a couple of nights later, we dream about the bunny getting bigger and maybe more aggressive, and maybe it turns another color. And that keeps going until finally the bunny is a bear that's about to attack us. But we know it's the bunny. And then it becomes a terroristic kind of thing until it becomes just something we don't even want to go to sleep.
Right.
Why do you think that spirit would start so gently?
Because maybe it was something in your life that started out real gently, and it was hiding what they really were.
Okay. Thank you.
And then, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know what somebody else would think, but you take a little bunny like that's loving, and you how sweet it is, and gradually it grows into something fierce.
And
so
mean.
Right. So there's something that started out real gentle in your life, and that's how you go about doing your dreams. It could be a person, it could be a situation, it could be anything. It could be a job, a boss, whatever it is, you got to watch out for that fierce bear, and you need to know how to handle it.
When I was a kid, I'm a Leo, so for me to dream about lions is no big deal. And one of my guides is a panther. I can remember that panther on my very young feet when I was little. And it was a little panther that has grown with me.
Mm-hmm.
It grew as I grew. But I dreamed about a not so loving lion. Normally, the lion was kind of walking beside me with the panther sometimes, but I'm a Leo. So I'm used to lions, and critters are like that. And then when it walked in front of me one day, I saw that it wasn't really a lion at all. It was something that was wearing a lion's coat.
Deceiving.
So, yes. And what was interesting was that my panther was with me on my right side. That one just kind of got out in front of me. And I thought, when I woke up, did it want me to see that it was being deception? Because the further away it walked, it just disappeared and it never showed up again.
Mm-hmm.
But I have no idea what that deception was. But I thought it was showing me itself, wasn't hiding anymore. and it was a human figure. It was a human walking on all fours.
Was it
The
something in
lion.
the future?
It must have been, but I don't know how to identify it.
Right.
And I did have adult deceptions. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So don't we all? But I thought that was interesting too. And especially since my panther was right beside me and had never given any indication. And that was one of my guides. Had never given me any indication that the lion was unreal or deceptive. I guess it was a lesson I had to learn for myself. But I thought that was interesting too. I don't remember many of my dreams over my lifetime. I just don't. And it frustrates me because I will say, oh, I need to remember that. Or, well, I'll wake up and go, what was that? And it just will not come forward. Help us do that. Tell us how to keep control. Yes, you said the recorder, but what if we don't have the recorder?
Well, then when you wake up and you remember your dream, always write it down. Always, even if it's one symbol or a little image, that means something.
One word.
Right. And write it down and put the date on there. Continue just every night, just ask for guidance and dreams again and see how that, well, I'll tell you what, it's probably been 2 or 3 years I had a dream. And so the first of the year I interpreted it. And it was kind of a silly dream, but then after I interpreted it was really meant what I was thinking. I dreamed of 3 cakes, and at the time, I was wanting to lose some weight, and I was having some issues with someone, and so I thought, why was I at this dinner, and these 3 huge cakes were sitting on the table? So I went in and I interpreted that dream as, okay, I didn't want the person to take advantage of me. And so I went into the dream making myself the cake. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And so as the cake, how did I feel about somebody coming over here? I didn't want them to take advantage and eat me all up. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got that dream, and I had that dream about 3 years ago, and I finally got it figured out. But I didn't even try to figure it out. I just knew that I had the dream, and I had written it down. So, yeah.
I've noticed things about journaling.
Uh-huh.
I read something years and years and years ago about journaling, keeping a record of your dreams, no matter how simple, one word, whatever, a color, a swatch of color, anything, feeling.
Right.
I've woken up many years ago crying and had absolutely no reason to be crying. But I knew that was a memory or something trying to bubble up. So I would ask, why did I wake up crying? And sometimes during the day, or even a dream the night later, or even a couple of nights later, I'd get an indication, but I never got a complete, this is what we were trying to tell you. So I started keeping a record of that, not really long journaling, just this is what popped up. And what I would notice was a cycle.
Yeah.
And then I could go back and look at dreams or feelings or whatever and put the pieces together. And that would be frustrating because I would say, okay, Spirit, why didn't you just tell me the whole dream all at the same time? Why did I have to have the emotion, then the symbols, then the talk? You know what? It takes a lot of energy for you guys. It takes a lot of energy for me to meet you halfway. Why don't we get that same message or the whole message all at the same time?
It gives you what you need at the time. Okay.
And can handle at the time.
Yes.
Gets our attention.
Yes. And you can.
It was so frustrating because it'd been like 6 months. I could have been doing something about it.
Yeah, but maybe you wouldn't. Maybe it wouldn't have clicked.
That's true. It's like giving and getting psychic information.
Right.
Except this is form. This is dream form.
Right. And also you can have past lives and dreams.
Oh, I can pinpoint a couple of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a lady that I was we were doing a dream study, and she said she said, my husband and I went out to the country, and she said that went past this house, and she said, oh, she said, it just scared me to death. And then I had this dream about this house, and she said, I'm terrified. She said, I was just terrified of this house in my dream. And then when we went by it, and I said, okay, let me tell you what you do. I said, you find out everything you can about that house. I said, you find out when it was built, who lived there. I said, you find out, go to the library, go to the courthouse, whatever, you do that. And I said, next week when we meet, I said, see if you can tell me something. Well, sure enough, she got back with me, and she said, that house was a stagecoach stop back in the day. And the man that lived there, he married his wife, and they came from Mississippi, and they had a child, and she died. And then he remarried, and she was telling me all this. And she said, but you know what? I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid to go by that house or anything. I did, and I feel like, now I could be wrong, but I feel like that was a past life for her. One of those people in that house was, and it might have been the young woman that died, because she was, worried about whatever happened to her child, And I told her, I said, I couldn't tell her I thought it was past life because of her religious beliefs. She didn't believe in that. I believe in that. I believe that it was, but that's just me. I mean, I believe it was a past life. So
isn't it interesting how places, that house could be sitting on land. We don't know what was on the land before the first structure was built.
Right.
Or planted, for that matter, what's planted. We really don't know what we're sitting on, but we're going to have spirits no matter what generation it is. I mean, it could pop up just because we came here from Europe, our lineage did, and we had American Indians living here, doesn't mean that there were not other nationalities that never met the Indians on different coasts, and then they died out. We don't know.
Right.
And we don't know whether cavemen lived here. We know dinosaurs were around at one time in Central Texas, but I speak for all of the United States, all of the world landmass. We don't know what was there.
Right.
So if you turn around and you see any of the dinosaurs or mastodons, and you go, holy crap, you're too big to fit in my living room.
Yeah.
And then they're gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's normal. I know people are going to hear that and say that is not normal, but yeah.
Yeah.
Those energies are around. Those beings still hang around. Yeah. And
go ahead.
My youngest son had a baby dinosaur that followed him. The movie, was it Gary Cooper that had a rabbit or something that he spoke to many years ago?
Yeah.
Heath was kind of that way with that baby dinosaur. That baby dinosaur was around from the time he could talk until he started school.
Yeah.
And the night before he started school, he got out of bed and he was so excited. And when I realized he was by our bed, I just reached out and I said, are you okay? And he said, I can't sleep. And I said, well, you're excited, baby. He said, no, the dinosaur's crying because I'm leaving.
Oh.
Well, his name was Tack, T-A-C. I don't know why he named him Tack, but he did.
Yeah.
And he said, Tack is crying and he's keeping me awake. And I said, well, tell Tack he can come to school with you. And he said, no, the kids will step on his tail. They were having these kind of conversations forever. And so I did some research. And sure enough, the area that we lived in at the time was known to have been a dinosaur. They found dinosaur prints in that area. And then I remembered, and I'd never taken him to see them, but I did after the fact. There was a place up in the hill country that were close to where we used to live that was squared off, that is now part of a park where you can go and see dinosaur footprints.
Really?
I had no clue. And that happened after the fact. But Tack was sad because he wasn't going to be home all day. So I said, well, you tell Tack he can come keep me company. Or he can go to work with me. Nobody will hurt him if he doesn't want to stay home by himself. But even now, he's a grandfather.
Yeah.
and I could ask him something, but I don't even know if he remembers TAC now, but I'm sure he does. But it's just I'd hear him talking to people all the time.
Yeah, I think these things still come around. They're still with us. Uh,
And have an effect on us, yeah.
they do. They do have an,
And they come in our dreams. I have my animals will come occasionally.
mhm.
I'll wake up and they'll be staring at me and then they're gone. And I'll think something like, oh, I hope I remember that tomorrow. Sweetie came to say hello. And sometimes I don't for weeks.
Yeah.
And then I'll remember, oh, yeah. Jessie came, or one of the other cats or dogs that I've had in my past.
Mhm.
When I get over there, I hope they're all cluttered right there and they're ready to
They will be. They will be.
Yes, all the way back to my first dog, Lucky. I would love for that. Yeah. Well, how did you it makes sense to me. It may not make a lot of sense to everybody that's listening to us tonight, but Edgar Casey's educational facility is world renowned. So did you have to go live there, or could you take it on Zoom? How did you do it?
Then I took it online.
And how long of a class? Are there many classes, or?
It was about, I took one class and I think it was like 8 weeks long. The lady that did the class, she was wonderful. She was wonderful. And I learned so much in that class about other dreams, and it just, I don't know, it just made me feel comfortable to know that there's other people out there that dream like I dream.
Got it.
I mean, I knew my aunts did, and but just never talked about it much, because I didn't, just kept it. I kept all my psychic abilities down.
I hear that so much in our community. I'm doing it now, but I won't do psychic fairs. I'll do private readings. Even now, there can be a resistance to use one's tools or one's availability.
Right.
But yet, so many of us say, I've done this all my life. I just didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
Or I was afraid to do it for the public. I didn't want to be stoned.
I was afraid that I would give out wrong information, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. But everything that came to me about myself, it was solid. And I remember premonitions I had when I was like 12 years old, and it was strong. It was a strong premonition, and it didn't come to pass until I was 21 years old, and I remember it. Just like
it's interesting with dreams, you paid attention. But it's very hard for most metaphysicians, and I'm going to use the word read as a cover, to read for themselves, even if they're doing astrology or numerology, which are sciences within themselves. So you have something to say, the moon, the stars, like Mercury's in retrograde right now. That has a solid meaning. But if we throw the cards, or we throw runes or whatever, even when we use a pendulum, which is usually very dependable, it's hard for us to do it for ourselves. But yet and I think that's because of the influence that we may subconsciously have over.
You are very talented, and you're very much a psychic and you can read the cards. I don't think I could ever read the cards. I don't have enough faith in myself to do that. But you are just, you know what you're doing.
Thank you. But it's hard to do it for myself. In fact, I can ask a question. Usually if I'm trying to get information for myself, I do a yes or no. That's just real simple. You just have to be, you have to put it, you have to say it right. You can't say or this. Yeah, it's got to be one or the other. Right. Am I leaving by January the 1st? That's pretty straight. And then you throw 7 cards, and if the majority of the cards are upright, that's a yes. In reverse, that's a no. But I always check the cards before I ask for myself to make sure and then I get all no or all yes with cards combinations that mean nothing. Well, I guess they all mean something, but I'll try to look at them, listen to what spirit has to say. 9 times out of 10, I hear spirit giggle. So I've just learned that it's just almost impossible for me. Now, it may not be other readers, but for me, and that's one of the reasons why I have doubted my dreams so often when I do remember them. If it's something about me, like me moving out here is almost 4 years ago now, I knew I was leaving Clarkson. I knew I was, but I didn't know how, and I didn't know where I'd go. I knew it had to be someplace that I could take my 5 cats. I'm down to 2 now. I had 5 when I moved out here, but I knew it. I didn't know how, and I had a criteria of what I wanted to move into. Every time I'd ask about that time frame, I would get nothing. Every time I ask about, will I get my list, I would get, maybe, even not, nothing. But when I did stumble into this situation and it became fruition, there are only 2 things on the list I didn't get. That's it.
Yeah.
I can live without those things.
Yeah.
I'd love to have the pool, but I don't. I don't have the pool. But I thought, why not throw? I was a real estate agent. I would tell people, throw in there everything you want because you never know what we're going to find.
That's
You don't. So I threw it in there, but I'm way in the country. It's peaceful. I'm 15, 20 minutes away from 290. I'm in the country. You know, people drive through Manor and through Elgin, and they think what they see on 290 is Elgin, but that's just a commercial part of Elgin.
Yeah.
People come in from the country to shop in Elgin. So that's me right now. And I'm close to an hour depending on the traffic because Manor's getting really, really busy these days. But I knew I would be leaving within a certain time frame, and I did. I dreamed about my moving day. And I thought, well, where am I moving to? No answer. And I found this place in January. I moved in June of the same year. So I had months to pack. And I did. I just started packing almost immediately, letting the universe know I appreciated what they were doing for me. I'm going to make this happen. So I just started packing. So I had one dream about the move, and that was me loading up in a U-Haul. But I didn't load up in a U-Haul. I hired a professional mover. Now, that was my limitation because I didn't think I would be able to hire, but I was when the time came. Or else I would have been renting a U-Haul. I would have been. So I stood in my own way of getting answers through my dreams or through my cards.
See, we all do that, though. We all do.
We get in our way.
We get in our own way, and spirits trying to tell us, help us.
But how do we stop that in dream form? How do I say to myself, get out of my way? I can do it consciously, but once I go to sleep, is my subconscious going to help me get out of my way, or will it? I
think that it'll help you get out of the way, and maybe you not remembering some of your dreams is part of that.
Yeah. Oh, I don't remember a lot. I can remember sometimes daily. What was it I wanted to remember? And it will be so vivid when I'm dreaming it. And I'll say to myself in my sleep, I hope I remember this. Or why am I dreaming about this? And I want very much. Now, every now and then and then a couple of days later, I'll think, oh, that's what that meant. Not remembering what that was.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't be able to bring up the imagery, the smells, whatever.
You need to write all that down. And when in something that doesn't seem important, write it down and go back and look at it. And like I said, was 2 or 3 years ago, I dreamed that dream, and first of the year, I interpreted it about the cakes.
I love that imagery. I love that. You being afraid of being eaten up. I love it. What an interpretation.
I mean, that's how I interpret them. And, and I can help people do that. And then they'll learn how to do it, and they won't need me. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They just need to start writing down their dreams, get them a dream dictionary themselves and get a dream dictionary, buy one, or Edgar Casey's got on his website, he's got a dream dictionary that you can look through and see.
And what did he base those on? On the clients that he had helped and their cultural?
Cultural. He did that, and he did one for colors. And see what resonates with you. I have a couple of dream books in here. Well, I got more than that. But I look at some of those and I'm like, no, that doesn't mean that. No, that doesn't resonate with me. No, you know. So just because you get a dream book and you read something and it says something that doesn't, if it don't feel right, it's not right. You know what I'm saying?
Also, like in the tarot cards, combinations mean something. Do you find that with the symbols of dreams? Like there's always a dog and always a cat and always a red flower, and that means something regardless of what else is going on in the dream?
It depends on what kind of personality did the dog have. Was it growling? Was it friendly? Was his tail wagging? I mean, all that stuff, Elaine, all that stuff means something.
And the color of the animal, too, would mean something.
Right. You know, why did I wear that red dress to the party that night in my dream? Why was I in that red dress? I don't even like red. You know, you're thinking this. Write it down, red dress. What does red mean to you?
And passion, dedication, determination, passion about anything, not just who you're going to sleep with, but passion about any job.
And how is that going to help you in your waking life?
Yeah.
What's going on in your waking life that's trying to tell you? Is it about your career? Is it about a relationship? You know?
Dreams are, some cultures look at dreams as a holy event.
Well, I know, we all know that in the Bible, women's dreams didn't mean anything. Men did not recognize it. They didn't.
So the Bible says.
Yeah, they did.
We know how we know how the Bible has been translated, and it seems like every time it became more male dominant.
Right.
So we really don't know. People, I don't want you fussing at me about the Bible. The fact is that's true. The Bible has been interpreted for language purposes usually, and I'm not picking on that.
No,
but as it goes from one language to another, I told somebody else the other day, I reminded him, the Japanese don't even have a word for vacation. So if that shows up in something in the old days, how would they say? Days of rest? What would they, that might lose something. So,
yeah. So
some languages would have worked beautifully and others wouldn't have, in the whole thing, and I really believe, because so much of that was done by hand, that a scribe could easily have lost their place. And a whole paragraph could have been, I know people will say, Elaine, don't be dumb, don't be stupid, but they were only human.
Right.
And then, of course, along the way, some things they were told to leave stories out, chapters out. So what is it we don't know about dreams? We know that astrology and numerology is in the Bible.
Right.
What do we, and we know that angels came down.
They only paid attention to the men's dreams. That's it. That's
not the women's. Yeah.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah, because we're human too.
That's right. That's right. Now, the Native Indians, the women's dreams, you know, they pay attention to the women's dreams. And the young men, say 15, 16 years old, they'll fast for 5 to 8 days to have dreams and visions of their future.
You know, that's a heavy statement. That they will be given information. They sacrifice comfort and health. Actually, that's a long time.
Yeah, that's what
for information about their future. We walk into our future every day.
We do.
Was that a ritual of adulthood, walking into adulthood?
Yeah. And not all tribes did that. There were some that did that. Some of the women would also fast. so they could have visions and dreams of their future. It's really interesting. I have a grandmother, a great-great-grandmother that was Cherokee Indian. In fact, I have on both sides of my family Cherokees. And my one grandmother is buried out here at Cedar Creek. She's Cherokee, yeah. And I really enjoy reading on stuff like that to see what her life,
You were just saying about long time not eating, fasting.
Mm-hmm.
And some people would say those weren't dreams, those were hallucinations. How do you differentiate? Could they sleep? Could they pass out and have vision?
They just said that they had that in the book. It said that they would fast 5 to 8 days, so they would have visions and dreams. So they could have those about their future.
Go back to your grandma. I interrupted you about your grandma. Did you learn a lot from your ancestors? Were they around when you were young?
No, she was my dad's grandmother, great-grandmother. So, no, I didn't.
That's a ways back.
That was a ways back. And then on mother's side, there was Cherokee, too. So,
have you learned a lot about their culture when it comes to their healing arts and their spirituality? And
I'm learning it now. And
How
they were very sacred. I mean, everything, the earth, everything was so sacred to them.
How are you learning? Are you able to do book research or family
I'm doing both.
genealogy, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
But there's not really anyone left to teach or
There's
share.
And so what I did the other day, and I couldn't get through, I tried to call the Cherokee Nation in Oklahoma, and I've got their names, and I wanted to see if someone could help me with that, to see if I could find out some information about them there.
I hope they're on the registry.
Yeah, I think they are.
Have you done Ancestry.com?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
23 and whatever that is. I've done 23 and I can't open the program.
Yeah. I've done Ancestry, and my brother did too, and he did 23 also. He said he said he got better results with 23andMe. I don't know.
They have a different kind of laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
They are becoming world known for the accuracy of their labs. Ancestry.com has laboratories now. They didn't originally. They recorded how people connected. I mean, that's the easiest way to say it. But now they do have the laboratories. But 23 started out with the labs, the DNA. They already had a background. Yeah. They just embellished it.
Yeah.
So I tell people, and I want to do Ancestry.com. Seriously. My son, he's the keeper of all of our family information.
Mm-hmm.
All of it. And he has dug and dug and dug and dug and dug. And he also dug into my stepdad, even though there was no direct blood lineage, but he wanted to learn as much as he could about that man who influenced him and raised me, basically. So he's got all that information. I wanted bloodline information.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Keith's got the ancestry. He would call me every now and then and say, how does this person fit in? And if I knew, I would tell him. Or I'd say, well, we need to check with so-and-so on that one.
Yeah.
He even connected a cousin to me who was living right up in Round Rock.
Really?
On my mother's side of the family. She was, her grandmother and my grandmother were sisters. Which was really interesting. Yeah. I sat across the table and I'm looking at this woman and I started crying. And she reached over and she said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "I'm staring at my grandmother's face. You have my grandmother's face. Blue eyes, her skin is almost white." And those pale, everybody called my grandmother's eyes watery blue. Not sky blue, watery blue, real pale. And she had her hair pulled back. She had white hair, and I'm looking at my grandmother. She's tiny like my grandmother. I doubt that my grandmother ever weighed more than 110, and that was pregnant. Just
isn't that wonderful that y'all connected?
Keith did it. He found her. He said, "You're not going to believe what I found today." And then he contacted her and got permission to connect the two of us. And we had lunch. And we've kept up with each other. And then her daughter is the one that is what it on their side is what he's doing on our side.
Mhm.
It's all the Dennis Townsend, other people that are other family arms that are in there, but they all connect. So it goes back to Italy. I mean, it goes back to England and Ireland and Scotland and Germany and way back there.
Mhm.
But that's ancestry.com.
Mine's
You
that.
can get some of the same information on 23, but you can get DNA information that you cannot get from ancestry.com.
Mhm.
And you can't get a lot of the stuff. So you kind of need both if you're really serious about it.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
we went and we got ancestry, and then my brother got the 23, and we had family that came over on the Mayflower. So
I don't know that we had that.
yeah,
We didn't have
we
that.
we tracked them back to patriots. So
Yeah, good for you.
yeah, yeah.
You could be what is it, the Daughters of the Revolution?
I
or something?
am.
Yeah.
I joined that this year. Yeah,
Good for you.
yeah. I'm
Good
proud.
for you.
I'm proud.
Yeah,
I'm proud of
should
my.
be.
I'm proud of my grandpas.
Well, we talk about this, and it sounds like casual conversation, but it does relate to dreams, because knowing that if you dream about somebody in uniform or dream about a country street, another country, a European country, and you're walking down the I say that wrong, uh, a street in Europe somewhere, that may very well be a past life that
That's
you
what
had there, or it could be somebody coming in from that lifetime in your DNA trying to show you something. So the more we know about our families and connections, the more we're going, I think, to be able to understand what they're trying to tell us.
exactly. And I have visions. I have visions sometimes of people that I don't know, but they're right there in front. I mean, it's just right here. And I'm thinking that their past life, I knew them somewhere in a lifetime.
Or they were you.
Right. And I mean, and I can make, Elaine, I can make out their face, their eyes. It's just like they're right there. And if I tell that to some people, they'll think I'm crazy, but honest to God, it happens to me.
You know, I think that's important for us. You've kind of opened a door here for me to bring in something. It's so common to you that you don't worry about it. But that could be scary to somebody that happens to. And doing the work that we do, you're very, very psychic, very. And I know you've in the past said, no, I'm not, but you are. You're very psychic.
Mm-hmm.
And you're comfortable with this. You're comfortable with a dream slapping you upside the face with something. And yes, it's scary, but it's like that long. But it could make the public say, I'm not dreaming anymore. Thank you very much. I'm never going to dream again. I don't want to remember my dreams. Sometimes spirit says, oh, you just opened a door you can't shut. How do you help the public, a client, get through the fear of a dream, even if it might be something joyful? They could say, oh, no. I saw a party and they were from 5 different generations and they were all there together. That tells me that the dead and the living, that could scare some people really bad.
Well, it could, but they're there to tell you something, to let you know something.
And how do you get them over the fear of dreaming?
I don't know, because I don't, it's so natural to me that I don't think there should be a fear in dreaming. If you have a nightmare, you'd be afraid. And I guess if you see people that you don't know, you would be afraid. So at that point, you need to figure out who they are. If you can't.
So you say it so matter-of-factly, but a lot of people are going to go, I don't care. They were scary. Not opening that door again.
Then maybe they should. Maybe they should. Maybe that's something, their protection, that they don't need to open that door.
And so spirit has allowed them to see what's behind the door, and now they can shut it and they don't need to deal with it.
I think so, because some people may not be able to handle it.
That's very psychological. That's sending somebody to therapy.
Oh yeah. You know what? Dream classes, when I start doing groups and individuals, I'm going to have a list of therapists that I can give them, because this is not the replace of a therapist. if you're taking therapy, you continue with it. This does not replace it.
Thank you. I was going to ask you about teaching. Does it take a certification
No.
to
Well, yeah,
teach dream work
I'm certified, yeah.
by Edgar Casey's group?
By Edgar Casey and also by Justina Leslie. I took a
Justina?
Justina, Justina. Let me see what she has here. She's got the she's got the Institute for Dream Studies, and I took a short class with her, and I'm certified through her.
Part of what I'm doing with this podcast is creating a library.
Yeah.
That'll be kind of under the, a drop down thing that will include references material, whether it's videos or books or classes, institutions that you folks will send me a copy of that you want to share with other people.
Okay.
Even if it's one book, and even if the book has been referred or the class has been referred 5 other times, I'm going to leave it under your name, because people need to know where you've been and what influenced you. And that includes mentors, casual conversations, books you've read, music, perhaps, things that have helped you, supported you, influenced you, that you want to share with the public.
I've had dreams for so long and visions, people coming. I would see people and, I could close my eyes and just wouldn't be asleep, just kind of close my eyes. And all these, these people would come to me and I knew all this. And so I had to be careful with the books I read, because not everybody's on the up and up with this stuff. They don't.
We trust. That's why I'm asking people who know what they're doing.
Right.
You've been down this path. You know who's valid and who's not.
Right.
So that's what I'm asking for. Not just every book you've ever read, the ones that had an influence.
Yeah.
And the school, of course, we'll want to include the school, the Edgar Casey. We want to include the other ladies' school.
Right. Yes.
So people that you trust, people you would send me to.
Right. Because
your daughter to.
Right. Because you have to be careful. You can read, you can start reading a book about something and it's like, well, that doesn't make sense. That didn't really, that's not how that works, And so these 2 people are very good. And I read the books that they had. I read the ones at the Atlantic University. I had several books that I read through there. And, it was just like I soaked it up, because I was, I understood and I could just soak it up. And
when you were going through your studies, when you were reading your books, did you run across something and you said, I knew that. I could have written this book?
Yeah.
I knew your answer was yes, because you've already been there. You really did know it already.
Mm-hmm. But I probably trust myself, and I didn't want to. I was afraid to say anything to what people would, think. But I'm to the point now. It's a gift that I have, and it's a gift that you've got. We're gifted.
We have to get to a point to where, not that it doesn't matter what everybody thinks, but it's not going to influence us one way or the other, because we are who we are.
That's right. And we're not hurting anybody. We don't want to hurt anybody. We want to help people.
Right. And some medical people would say, yeah, but what you tell people can hurt people. And that's another thing about doing psychic work and interpretive work. That word interpretive can get us in a lot of trouble, because medical people will say, and I believe this too, I really do. We have to be careful what we say, because we don't know what they hear.
Right.
And we don't know what those words mean to them, especially if they're from different cultures, even different parts of the United States. So sometimes I will say, now tell me what I just said. And I'll have them, even if they can't repeat every sentence that I said for the last 5 minutes, I'll say, what did I just say? What did you get from what I just said? So we can converse about it, and they can leave the table hearing what Spirit told them. I said it, but it's Spirit saying it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would think it would be with the same thing about dreams, and your discussion about that person's dream, and because not leaving you.
Right, because spirit comes to them in the night and shows them a picture. So
Right.
they have that from spirit. They just don't know what it means.
And you help them figure it out. Yeah. But they have to understand what our words are hitting their ears and how they hear it.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's the thing that worries me the most when I'm doing a reading. And that may be why spirits will give us a dream in many forms, because they know we're not getting it, or that's all we could handle, the pink bunny, the first time. And if you haven't gotten it by the fourth dream, then we're going to slap you upside the head with a little bit of fear.
That's right.
But and if that doesn't work, we're going to terrorize crap out of you until you get it.
That's
And
right.
some people never get it, and that's what sends them to therapist,
Right.
which is okay.
Yeah.
They've landed to a safe space, hopefully, because not every therapist is good for every person. I believe in interviewing when it comes to medical people.
I do
It's
too.
okay. I mean, we all have to fit the glove, but I know that we have to be responsible with our words and our interpretations, even though we're trying to help them understand what it means according to their interpretation. I've had people say, well, what you're saying is what you say, this is what you mean. That's when I would usually stop and say, or if they've got this deadpan look on their face, tell me what I just told you. Let's talk about it. And then I can get across to them. And sometimes it's because they just blank out. They don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And one lady not long ago said, I could not tell you what you have said to me for the last 10 minutes. And we had a serious discussion after that, which is a little bit like shutting out the dreams. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to see it. I value what you do. I've always been fascinated by dreams, and always been fascinated by the language of dreams. And I've had people tell me that they dream in different languages and I can't understand. Well, obviously that's a past life thing.
Right. That's a past life.
Yeah. And I've told several people, I'm not a dream interpreter. I don't need a dream interpreter. What did it mean? And they want a psychic interpretation, bypassing the dream form. And until you came along recently, didn't know anybody here in the Austin area that was doing serious dream work. There probably is. Maybe they just are not out there as much. Maybe it's one of those folks that you have to know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, like we used to be so undercover.
Right.
It's how people couldn't advertise. So,
Yeah. Well, when I like I said, I've dreamed for so many years, and I decided I was going to go to, take classes from Atlantic University and really get to the meat of it, and find out about it. And
it's becoming a career.
I hope so.
You mentioned a while ago teaching. Have you set up a curriculum to teach, a time to teach?
No, I need to do that. I need to do that.
You have a website yet?
I have my website. Yes, I have my website.
Did you already send it to me in your thing?
Yes.
Okay.
I did. Yeah.
I know I asked about you. Your daughter was helping you set it up, and when we were talking at that time, you said you'd let me know when it was set up. So I have that on record now. I will, of course, share that.
Yeah.
Okay, so folks, she's got a website. What are you going to be putting on your website eventually?
I've already got it set up. I've got it.
Class dates?
Well, I'm going to, I guess I need to do that. I'm just, like I said, I'm just now getting started, and I will do individual sessions with somebody if they want that. We can do Zoom. However I can help somebody, because this is really, Elaine, this is really about helping people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is. And dreams to me, dreams are a sacred, very personal communication.
Oh, exactly.
With spirit.
And that's like what don't go talking about them, because you'll end up like I did, people telling you it's of the devil and all this. And that just keep them close and just trust. And if we're going to be in a dream group, I'm going to have people sign a letter that they will not discuss anybody's dream when they leave there, because everybody's dream is sacred and private.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't know what somebody's dreaming about. I mean, whether it can be abuse when they were children and it's coming up in a dream. You don't know.
I've heard that so many times, and the person inevitably do not remember it on a physical form.
No.
My parents would never have treated me that way. My family would never have treated me that way when they had the crap beat out of them more than once. And then they got old enough to where they couldn't be handled, so it stopped. But they blocked everything out, but it kept coming up so they could clear it.
Uh-huh.
And that's a psychological thing. That's when I start pulling out the doctor's names.
Exactly. Because I can't, that's coming up, and I can't help that. I mean, I can't do anything about that. They need professional help with that. And that's good that they dreamed it. They're going to get it out.
What did they teach you? Where the line is that that dream interpreters, I say we because it is part of the metaphysical community as well, psychic community, where the line is that you don't cross when you do pull out the doctor's names. And there are all kinds of doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, different kinds of specialty therapists. Did they teach you where that line is and when to start referring people to that part of the world?
No, my professor said that I would know and to make sure I have that. She says, because she said you're inevitably, I can't even say it. My mouth's so dry. I apologize.
No, go for it. I can't say that word easily either.
She said, if you have a group, you're going to usually have someone in there that's going to need
professional help. A different kind of profession. Not that you're not professional, you are, but it's a different kind of profession.
Right.
I used to carry a list of names, both men and women, at least 3 or 4 of different groups. Some people are more comfortable with men, some with women.
Yeah.
So and even doctors. I carried doctors' names, gynecologist and children's specialist, and I would tell people, here are 3 names, interview all of them, and then make a decision. Because we get all kinds of personal stuff and medical stuff that people will ask us about.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and I still do. It seems to happen less and less, but it still does happen. So
I've really been surprised that I've brought this up to some of the doctors that I go to and telling them what I'm doing, and they're all excited about it. I mean, they think it's great.
They should be.
That I'm doing.
If you have the backing of the medical profession, that's a big win.
So
for us helping people.
Yeah. So I mean, I was surprised, but oh yeah, they're like,
Have you thought about, or have you already taken shamanistic dream courses?
No, I thought about it since I've been reading up on the Native Indians. I've been thinking about it. I really have.
There's the sacred drumming is a big part of that, and walking the dream path and learning about it shamanistically. You also learn about cutting ties.
I've cut ties before. I have cut ties, and it's very powerful.
Yes, Karen Richards is Karen, don't you? She was a licensed therapist for 30 years, and when the state of Texas started giving her a hard time about her shamanistic studies and teachings, they said you can't mix the two. So she walked away from her license, but she still practices therapy, but in a different way.
Yeah.
And she teaches some phenomenal shamanistic classes.
Mm-hmm.
She has an office in South Austin. Mm-hmm. It's under Caseta. I always say that word wrong. You can find her. This is good for the public to know too. So we'll just pop it in here. Karen, hang on a second. Come back here. Karen Hutchins, Hutchins. You may know her from the fairs. She makes jewelry and teaches a lot of classes, and she's a redhead, and she's probably in her 60s. Yeah. She has her website is, of course, the www thing. CICADA. CICADA. Okay. Caseta, I think. Dash. There's a dash. Recovery dash services.com. She has an office on South First. Mm-hmm. She teaches drumming. She teaches how to make drums. She teaches different shamanic paths. Mm-hmm. She's studied for years. She's a wealth of knowledge and information. A great deal of earth, wind, and fire acknowledgement. And if you're wanting to study the American Indian journey, that I would start with visiting with her and seeing if the two of you mesh. And if you don't, she's one of these people that says, I'm not really the one you need. You need, there's no ego there. She wants you to go where you need.
Right.
But I've taken some of her classes and she's phenomenal. So see, shared it with, I don't know how many hundreds of people just then, but you can go online and look at what she's doing and when she's offering what. And she's usually at the fairs. She'll probably be at the fair coming up the last week in September. If you have time, pop over, meet her in person.
Okay.
She'll have a table probably. And you can always go on Spiritual Life Productions to see if she's going to be there because they always post a list of vendors and readers. So, and she's both. So she'd be there. But I feel safe sending anybody to her. She's a longtime professional in the medical world, so to speak. And now she's a longtime professional in this world as well. And walked away from the other one because they wouldn't allow her to let her braid things together, which I think is really important. Your work, I think, is really important because you may call it dream work, and it is, but it's also working with your subconscious, which is also working with your super sub, and your super sub never forgets anything, ever. So when you're digging down into past lives, that's not just subconscious. That's getting way past when.
Mhm.
So you're just going to keep getting better and better and better at this. Speaking of that, what's in the future for you? More classes? I know where you're going to teach eventually, but what are you going to do?
I am going to take some more classes because even though this comes natural with me, there's a lot I need to learn. I mean, and I am going to start doing I'm going to start doing lectures and explaining how important dreams are to people. And then
Where are you going to be lecturing?
I don't know yet. I've got to start. All this is, it's so new to me. I've got to get it, see where I'm going to
Find
go.
out.
Yeah.
Unity Church, maybe?
Maybe I'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So,
They're a good place to start.
yeah, they are. So I'm waiting.
And there are well, and if your doctors are enthusiastic about you, you can ask your doctors where would be a good place to start lecturing. You might even fit into a recovery group of some sort.
Yeah.
Or more than one.
Yeah.
And now that you have a website, you can always write for your website. You can put videos on your website. Pick a subject and put things on your website as well, even if they're just little 10-minute, 15-minute snippets.
Yeah.
So that would help you create a curriculum. I mean, if you're allowed to do such.
Yeah.
Depending on your certification.
Yeah.
Do's and don'ts.
I'm going to get out there and start hitting the pavement and seeing who I can talk to. And I thought I would contact UT and see if there's a professor there that I could talk to.
Don't forget ACC.
Right. Well, I contacted them. I hadn't heard back from them. So
stay on them.
Yeah.
This is a weird time of the year for education. School's getting ready to start again.
Yeah.
People are busy. Registrar's office is crazy. So let them catch their breath.
Yeah.
And of course, they're getting out of the summer stuff and into the fall stuff right now. So just stay on top of them. I taught tarot classes there for 2 years. But that was a long time ago.
I remember when you did that. Yes.
I enjoyed it, but like I said, it was so long ago. The same people are not there anymore.
Yeah.
But the openness is, I think, even though ACC has changed a lot. But there are other schools too, hanging around. You can do things in libraries. You can gather up in a library room.
Right. Yeah. And also, my daughter and son-in-law moved to Bryan, and she does a lot of stuff with A&M. And so I'm thinking that I may contact A&M. And
go, girl.
No, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well, and you didn't record this, but you'll get a copy of this. And you'll get a copy of the edited that will be presented.
Okay.
So the only thing I'm asking people right now is because we haven't launched officially. So not to use anything you may have access to until you've been on. And that way you'll have more people. Like you could take some of this and put it on your website eventually.
Yeah.
If you wanted to. Or you could just pull out 3 minutes, like little tagline and advertisements and things like that. Find you a good editor. Maybe your daughter can help you with that and upload it. But you're welcome to use this conversation in a way that can be beneficial to you. If
Thank
there's
you.
a couple of lines or a topic we talked about, you could pull it up and then you could say, but I'm going to be doing a whole lecture on this, and we can pick up at the lecture. Come join us.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of ways that you can use things like this on the internet. But
Well,
I'm sure your daughter can help you figure that out.
the thing about dream interpretation, the dreamer's going to be doing the interpreting. They're the ones that's going to be seeing what the dream is about, why they had the dream, what is it they need to work on in their life. It may, like I said, it may be a relationship, it may be a career change, it may be a move, finances. It's there. You just have to. And if you don't dream right now, if you're not dreaming, don't give up. Just keep setting the intention that you're going to dream.
I always heard that if we all dream, and if we didn't, we'd go crazy.
That's what I've heard too. Boy, I tell you, when I have I don't remember my dreams, because sometimes when I go to bed, I don't want to dream. I mean, I don't want to remember them, And then, boy, I have this doozy of a dream that tells me exactly what's going to happen, and whoa.
And you go, not tonight. I am off duty. Let me sleep.
Right. Yeah. But I have
when I
journal. I have it, and I look back. Oh, and there's a dream. It's called the shadow dream.
Explain that to the public.
Okay. The shadow dream is a dream where the ego is involved. And it usually shows a person that you have some of their qualities, but they make you mad, or you're afraid of them, or they're sad. But there's there's something about that shadow. And so my professor kept talking about the shadow dream, and I thought, well, I don't know. I never heard of that. I don't know what a shadow dream is. Elaine, I got my journal out after I took the class and everything, and I was looking through, and I had dream, shadow. I swear to God. And I had underneath what the shadow was. And I mean, I was like, well, I don't remember dreaming that, but it was a shadow dream, and that's what they were talking about. So
is that the same as doing shadow work with our spirits?
I don't know.
And soul work?
I don't know. I don't know how, but it's something. It's a shadow. It's usually a person that's there that makes you angry, or you're afraid of, or there's something, and it's a shadow, and it's a shadow of you. I mean, something, it shadows off you.
Well, see, shadow work is like that.
Is it?
When you do, yeah. I don't have the name or the title of a book, but I know you could go on Amazon or some of the other book places and just type in shadow work for the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And something would pop up, and you could read it, and you have enough knowledge about your work to know whether that fits in or not.
Uh-huh.
I think that would be, it feels like it does, because you're talking about it being another facet of yourself. Well, that's what shadow work is all about, is looking at the facets of oneself.
That's right. That's in the dream. And I was like, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was just like, oh my gosh.
That might be something else for you to study, quote unquote, without going down a rabbit hole, but studying so that you can weave it into what the dream thing might be easier to help. People might learn easier about themselves, but when people deep dive into shadow work, that can be years of processing, and they're using shadow work now in PTSD.
Oh, are they?
In a psychological work, and when they're using something for the soul like that, it's important to bring in a metaphysical twist to help, like PTSD and addiction.
Yeah.
So if you're getting it in dreams, I bet you there's a way to tie it in.
Oh, I bet there is.
And help people understand even further.
Yeah, that's one of the dreams. That's one of the types of dreams you can have, a shadow dream.
What are the rest of the types of dreams? Well, besides prolific,
The
you're predicting.
lucid dreams. I've got them all written down here. The psychic dreams, precognitive dreams.
What's the difference between psychic and precognitive?
They're basically the same thing, I think. See, sometimes they'll give a definition, and I'm like, I think it's more like this. If you understand what I'm saying, like lucid dreaming, you're dreaming, but you're really awake, and you know what's going on, but you're in a dream. And to me, that's a vision, but I don't know, that's just my own thing, is a vision. But
See, that's the way I think of lucid dreaming. You're participating.
right,
A lucid dream, to me, you're participating.
right.
In a psychic dream, to me, psychic dreams it's coming. I'm seeing it come.
Well,
Or even in a psychic dream, might get a better understanding, a psychic imagery, we might get a better understanding of what's already happened. But typically, to be psychic is to see it coming.
right.
And cognitive to me means teaching, understanding.
Precognitive dream means you see the future.
See, and what's the difference in that and psychic, or are they just the same?
To me, they're just the same. They're the same, and just like prophetic, they're the same thing as prophetic. People in church say prophetic.
It's all about customs and locality, I guess. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. But I think, to me, I've had lucid dreams, and I think, well, were they visions that I had? Were they actually visions I had? I don't know. Some people would think I'm crazy. All the dreams.
No. Well, some think we're all crazy if we work in this field. I mean, that's just, and that's what the books say. There's the code in Austin, legal code in Austin, and I'm not sure whether it's in county or just Austin or the whole state. But if you can hear, see, smell, or feel something that no one else around you can, you're crazy. And the public, the law can arrest you and put you in an insane asylum, regardless of what your family. Of course, it's not, and yes, there may be some laws that would absolutely not listen to anybody else. You'd have to go to court to get out, kind of thing.
Right.
But those have been on the books forever. I mean, the police department could raid any psychic fair and arrest everybody.
Yeah.
And we'd have to find our way out of it. So that's another reason why some people do not do what you do with dreams, even though that's a perfectly normal, natural state. But interpreting them is not okay.
Right.
But like somebody said earlier today, unless you're in a church, you're not supposed to do these things.
Right.
And I'm not picking on the church's public, so I don't want anybody fussing at me. That's just a fact.
Yeah, right. That's true. And then the lady that told me that God didn't want me doing it, and then a year later, she told me she had a dream about me that I needed to stop being so upset. I mean, it's like,
I have this thing about God wants you to do this. God wants you to do that. How do you know?
That's exactly what I said. God is a spirit within all of us. We don't know what He tells somebody. I don't. That's
none of our business.
That's right.
I'm sorry. I have a hard time with that, but I know that a lot of people say God doesn't want you to do that because they've read it in the Bible. That's their that they've been taught through the church that God does not, if it's outside the 10 Commandments, you're not supposed to do it. You follow the 10 Commandments, everything else is bad. Mm-hmm. And that's the way people look at it. I'm a little bit easier. I figure if we can follow 5 of those every day, we're doing pretty good.
That's right.
That's I guess maybe I'm being too easy on myself, but I'm older. So honoring your parents, well, my parents are gone. So, that's one right there.
You don't have to worry about.
Right. Thou shalt not kill. Well, I'm not killing anybody unless it's by accident. We'll figure that one out. But the one that's really fluid here is coveting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, wanting somebody else's house, being jealous is a form of coveting. And in some countries, if I complimented you on your earrings, you're supposed to give me your earrings.
Really?
And I don't care if they're worth $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just giving you a compliment on your taste and what you're wearing. And if I could see the rest of your outfit, I may tell you that's just absolutely perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have to disrobe and give me everything? In some countries,
You do.
you'd have to do something nice.
Uh-huh.
You know, the saying about that person would give you the shirt off their back. That comes from that coveting.
Hmm.
But it also comes from their compassion.
Mm-hmm.
They see that you need something. So, you know, that's one of the other 8 or 9 that we have to pick and choose every day.
Yeah.
And if we can, I really believe if we can do 5, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
So but blaming somebody about what, like your manager did or whoever it was, God doesn't want you to do that. She may truly have believed in her belief system that you're not supposed to be telling people. Talk to people about their dreams.
Yeah.
You're helping them. Only God can help. I could see where that would be stretched out to only God can tell them what that means. That's God talking to them. You're being nosy.
Well, it is God talking to them, but they don't know how to interpret that dream. And they don't realize how important it is and that comes from God. That's God's language, secret language to us is our dreams.
And she may say that I'm telling you God doesn't want you to do that. You're saying, but he's given me a tool to help people and I'm going to help people. She just didn't understand.
Mm-hmm. Right.
She didn't. I think people that I know from when I was a youngster and people talking about their dreams really meant in a very psychic sense. Now, you have to remember when I was a kid and visiting my grandparents out in the country, it was country.
I know.
Country. Mm. And they live by a different code. People help people. You do what they need to do. You do what needs to be done to make sure they're safe. And otherwise you keep your opinions to yourself. Mm-hmm. But there's always going to be that one person in the tribe or one family in the tribe that causes trouble because they have a different belief system.
Right.
And they'll tend to stir things up, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So my grandmother and my grandfather both we'll help others and we'll stay to ourselves.
Right. You know, I remember growing up, I remember my mother talking about Edgar Cayce. I've heard Edgar Cayce most of my life. Of what he did. So this was nothing new to me. You know, it's not something that I just all of a sudden got.
Yeah. Well, you're very psychic. So even though you may not have declared that, you knew it. You might not have had the language for it when you were younger, but you knew it. You were a bigger piece of the puzzle and you weren't afraid of knowing what you knew. You just had to figure out what to do with it.
Right.
And you had an ability and you directed the ability this way because this was your fascination. Mm-hmm. I really believe that dreams are sacred. I believe them to be very personal and very precious. And yeah, they can be fun. They can be scary. They can be informative. I don't care what word you put on it, but there's a reason. And if the therapists are telling you, psychologists and medical people are saying, if you don't dream, you'll go crazy. I think we need to pay attention.
And they will. You've got, there's a thing here I was going to read and I don't know if I can find it or not. I guess it was about the New York Times wrote in their paper several years ago. And I wish I could find the exact, here we go. I'm sorry, Elaine. Let's see. And I've got this on the this is going to be in one of my lectures. There was an article in Newsweek, is what it was, several years ago. There is a lot we don't know about dreams, but the one thing we do know, it gives us the closest look at the human soul.
I thank you for sharing that with the public. And thank you. Yes, I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah.
My mother said something years and years and years ago. If you'll listen to your dreams, you're really talking to your soul.
Oh, yeah.
or your soul's talking to you. And I had put it with the, like you do, the subconscious.
Uh-huh.
She was just saying the soul is talking to you.
And yeah. And that's the way that God communicates with us. He communicates a lot of ways with us if we listen and pay attention. But that's one of the ways that he communicates at night with us.
When things are quiet, hopefully, and peaceful. And that's why a lot of people, I believe, get a lot of the messages that they do between 2 and 5. Because in most cities, that's when neighborhoods, if you're outside the city itself, neighborhoods, most of the electricity is off.
Right.
And we are already asleep. The best sleep we get supposedly is before midnight. But after midnight, we're really supposed to be in deep, deep, deep sleep, which is where dreams would be easier to see and remember, I would think. I don't know what you were taught, but that's what I've always heard.
Yeah.
So, and I've noticed since I moved out here, I sleep better out here. I still have trouble sleeping, but I sleep better. When I go to sleep soundly, I am out. I'm out. And I wasn't that way at Clarkson for years. But I had so much going on around me. Traffic.
Yeah. Well, they say also that if you take medication, it's hard to dream. It can cause you to not remember your dreams, some of the medication you take. But with me, I can take a pill. I can take an allergy pill or whatever and go to bed. And if I'm supposed to remember that dream, I'm going to remember it.
But you've trained yourself to do that, regardless of what else is in your body.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm certainly not arguing with you at all, but I've noticed that I've had 2 hip replacements. I've had a couple of hospital stays where they knock you out.
Oh, yeah.
And even when I'm in surgery, I will remember coming out of surgery, when you're in the recovery room or whatever they call it, I'll have a hard time realizing where I am because I'm supposed to be back where I was.
Mm-hmm.
And so many of us, medication like that is just deep meditation.
Yeah. Well,
we don't want to get back.
Yeah, they say that medication can also keep you from remembering your dreams. But if you need your medication, you got to have it. You can't, But right. I know I've gone to bed and I've taken a Benadryl and that knocks you out. And I wake up next morning, I was like, man, boy, I need to write this down. I remembered my dream.
You remember it. Yeah. But something gets in the way. Mm-hmm. But I know I can remember one time during surgery, watching the surgery, just kind of drifting. Uh-huh. But I didn't remember that for days, even after I came home. And then I remember vividly, I was drinking a bottle of water and I went, I did see that. Mm-hmm. I did. But it took me all those days to remember it because I was highly medicated. Mm-hmm. But I could tell you what they were talking about.
Really?
I went, that's cool. All right. I'll try to do that again if I ever have to have surgery, kind of thing. But that wasn't a dream. But I equate it with a dream because did I dream it or did I see it? I finally figured out I saw it. Mm-hmm. I didn't dream it. I saw it. But I also dreamed right as I was going to sleep. I was playing with a basketball, and I rarely played with a basketball when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Now, was that a memory or was that a dream? Probably a memory. But when you're experiencing something like that, you have to ask yourself those questions.
Right.
Did I do that? Or did I just dream that I did that kind of thing? So dreams you're in a confusing field, girl. I applaud you. Girl. See, you're not comfortable with the tarot. I'm not comfortable with dreams, but now I've got you. So,
and I've got you for care, but you've always.
I think that's a pretty good exchange, and I can learn a lot from you. I may join one of your classes when you start teaching.
Well, come on over.
It would be fun. In all seriousness, I will be including you in the newbies arm because you're getting started.
Okay.
Certainly you have the age and the wisdom and life's experiences, but you're getting started in this. And I want people to not be afraid of the newbies that are coming on in the field. I want them to have confidence in you, because I tell people all the time, everybody we sit down with, we learn something from them, even if it's the kind of questions that they ask us.
Right.
So as practitioners, we're going to learn with everything that we do because of the people that come to us.
Right. And my goal is to help people learn how to do it themselves and know what's going on in their lives or in their past life, you know.
Right. And
I got-
eventually you'll be moved over to the established and, line. So that's good. But I want to help you. I want the public to know a big part of this podcast, and everybody's going to get sick of hearing this, is I want people to know whose shoulders we stand on in our fields.
Mhm.
Edgar Casey. You are standing on Edgar Casey's shoulders.
Mhm.
Who else is the lady that you mentioned?
the Institute for Dream Studies, Justina Lansley. She's a very smart lady. She wrote the book Wake Up, and I took her classes, and then I'm a member of the International Dream Studies. So I've done a lot of work. I've done a lot of my own work too.
And the public needs to know that. We spend our money, we take our classes, we do our practices, and then we have to have the confidence to go out and help people. And I want people to know that. I'm big on that with this podcast thing.
Right.
And that's why I want a list of your books. That's not every single one of them, but the ones that made a difference for you.
Right.
And classes and who your mentors are. I had future written down on my notes. You shared what you want to do in the future. And this won't be the last time we visit, not by any stretch of the imagination. And I want to know, send me an email, text or something when you get everything going, your website's going, when you start getting your classes going, and we'll put a little note on our drop page so people will know, okay, Donna's doing this now. Okay. I want to know what you're doing. You write your first book, I want to know. You have a signing party, I want to know. Mm-hmm. You're a newbie, but you won't be a newbie for long. You have a lot of knowledge to share with the future, with future people. So it's what this podcast is all about. Is whose shoulders are we standing on? And you're going to be standing on mine. So I've got to live up to the test and the ethics and the whole thing. So, and
you will. You're Elaine. I've known you for a long time. I've always respected you for who you are.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm excited for you. I think this is wonderful, even though you didn't continue with tarot.
I just don't think I would be a very good tarot reader.
Well, I know I can usually tell after about 2 or 3 classes who's going to stick with the tarot and do something with it, or who's just going to learn it and enjoy the beauty of it and the antiquity and the history, but they're going to go off into numerology or astrology. I don't care.
Right.
Whatever you learn, you're growing, and that's all I care about. Mm-hmm. And so many of the people over the years that I've had the privilege of sharing a class with, a lot of them, not because of me, but because of their work, they've decided to take different paths, and they're doing great. Some never became professional, but they still learned, and they're still using it, and they're still sharing it, even if it's over a cup of coffee with a friend.
Right.
And that's all that matters.
That's right.
Not everybody's supposed to be a standing professional working with the public, but that doesn't mean they've wasted their time or their money.
I feel like I've learned a lot. I think I have a lot more to learn.
Every day we need to learn for our public. Every day. Yeah. So you will. And the more people you have come to you, and the more questions they ask, the more experiences they have and they share, you're going to learn from it to help somebody else with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Every time.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to leave with the public this evening? What kind of ending I'm not even going to ask about your legacy. We'll get to legacy another time. It's a little early now for the legacy. But what do you want to learn with the public? Words of encouragement or whatever?
Yeah, I just want them to know that everybody can do this. And this is from the soul. The dreams are from the soul. And they're important. And I would hope that they would start paying attention to them, because it will definitely help them.
Help grow,
Right.
help be more peace at mind, peace of heart, hopefully.
Yes.
Isn't it amazing when you finally understand something, you know whether to let it go and find the peace in it, or you can do something towards that end once you understand the thread.
Right.
You're awesome, lady. Thank you.
You are too, Elaine.
Thank you. We're going to say goodnight now, but she'll be back. She'll be back, as they say. You have a great weekend, honey. Thank you, public, for being with us. And
Thank you.
cheers now.
Love you. Bye.
Mwah.
Thank you for tuning into The Conversations with the Ancients, where we take you on a journey where you'll hear voices of metaphysicians from the past, as well as today's spirit mediums, healers, and others who show you a side of the paranormal you've never seen before. Remember to visit our website at conversationswiththeancients.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on Conversations with the Ancients.